new coach or two.
Welcome to PAO International. We have a special former goalkeeper, Luke Steele. Welcome, Luke. You joined the club back in 2014 and played for the team 66 times, including Europa League performances, including a Europa Team Keeper of the Week for the valiant performance against Ajax at home. Glad to have you on.
Thanks very much. It's good to be here. I think I'm not sure if 66 is maybe the league games, but it might be a little bit higher. I think it was 98 games for Panathinaikos, and that was one of my regrets. I just wanted to get to 100. I remember Zeka getting a shirt presented on one of my first weeks at the club, and I was like, that's what I want to achieve. So it's the one thing that I didn't quite achieve. 98 games in total, I think it was. So came close, but not quite there.
Zeka's returned back to the club this season, so he's played a handful of games. He's there for good experience and good leadership. And what do you do with yourself today? You're gone into the management career. Is it with Peterborough Sports, if I pronounce it correctly?
Peterborough Sports, yeah. It sounds like a leisure centre, but it's not. Basically, it's a really small club who's climbed the ladder of English football in the 5th league of English football at the moment. And yeah, I'm privileged to have that position because I think a lot of managers in this league are full-time and, you know, they've got a good managerial background. But because of my playing career, I think I got given this opportunity in the Conference North. And obviously it's been great. I've done 2 seasons now. It's not something that I predicted. I didn't think about becoming a manager as a player. And it kind of just got thrown my way. So yeah, it's sometimes nice to be in a position where you don't have too much pressure on yourself because as a player, you always want to reach the very top. But as a manager, it's a bit different. It's in my home city, which I've not lived in since I was 17. So it's amazing to kind of be local, but, you know, in a good job like this. So I'm kind of learning the trade at the moment and we'll see where it goes.
Have you ever been tempted to put back on the boots as a player manager, or that's the player days are gone?
Well, technically, I am a player manager this year because I've been on the bench a few times. Whether that's as a goalkeeper or a striker, I don't know. But you know, I don't like an empty bench, so I'm registered as a player. But you know, I wouldn't play unless I was really needed. It's a very good level, so you know, I'm still kind of retired as a player, and you know, it'd take a lot for me to get going again, which obviously wouldn't happen. So no, I'm pleased in the position I am.
Yeah, he can do Tuesday. In 2014, you came to Panathinaikos. I think it was a bit of a shock because the kind of keepers that we had were almost within the system, kept within Europe. When your name came up as a transfer, it surprised many. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was surprising to me also. I think that they'd looked at stats and looked at keepers that could play with their feet and different bits. But I think looking back, I mean, I'm pleased I didn't do this, but I think that they might have signed me as maybe a backup, maybe somebody who they're kind of just looking at, and yeah, probably didn't expect me to play so many games. But you know, once I landed in Greece, I was just completely committed to the club, and I think it's the only way to be when you sign for a new club. It's I just kind of threw everything at it and managed to get in the team and started off quite well. So it was through Nikos Dabizas, the sporting director. So he was the one who was you know, key for me signing, and he put his faith in myself. So I owe a lot to him, and you know, I just love the place from the start. And I think it helps that if you have kind of a feeling about a place and a desperate need to play and do well for them. And I felt that straight away with members of staff. And you spoke about Zeka, he was important to me. And I wanted to prove people in England. And, you know, I'd kind of been pigeonholed as a championship goalkeeper. I wanted to kind of play in Europe so badly that nothing was going to kind of get in my way. That's how I felt at the time. And luckily, it worked out quite well.
What was some of your most favourable memories?
There's lots of things that in that first season it was really important for me to get in the team, and like I said, I dreamt of playing in European on the European stage. And I think the first major thing that happened was playing away at PSV Eindhoven, because I was so nervous. It was weird. I was already 30, established goalkeeper, playing hundreds of games, but you have this perception that maybe European football is going to be so much difficult and so much more technical or something like that in my head. But obviously, I played the game. We managed to draw 1-1. My family were there, which was great. And, you know, the manager of them was Poku, somebody I'd grown up watching. And I think Depay scored. I can never say his name, Memphis Depay. And, you know, I was delighted to kind of be up and running in European football, and to get a draw away at PSV was brilliant for me. And I always remember that as the real first amazing point for me. But there were so many more talking points like throughout 3 years, some good, some bad. And, you know, it's easier to remember the good ones. And, you know, I try and do that on a regular basis.
And what were your memories like of derbies, home and away, especially versus Olympiacos? They're always fiery, they're world famous. Give us your perspective as a foreigner experiencing a home and away game.
Well, I think the first one I played was, I think it might have been the week after or the week before that PSV game. And I'd never seen the road shut off before. So the first thing I remember was traveling from, I think, our training ground or the hotel it was, to the Karaiskaki, and it was just empty. And obviously the bridges had people on it. There was not just police, but in my eyes, there were like armed vehicles and stuff like that. And it was just amazing. It was just such a tense atmosphere. I can't describe it. And obviously being a new player and hearing it and watching YouTube clips. And I remember Pranic telling me his shorts got blown off, or a big hole in his shorts the year before. So I kind of had that in my mind. And then just going out to do the warm-up, honestly, running out, I always do this weird jump, and I felt like I could jump 20 foot in the air, because obviously their stadium was already nearly full. The whistles, the booing, the carrots, which I never did understand, thrown onto the pitch, the laser pens, but it sounds so intimidating, but I don't know, I kind of just loved it. I just embraced it and I loved it. Like, obviously I enjoyed the home fixture, but I always say it's easier to play away in a way, because the pressure isn't on. But away from home, it was just so loud and kind of intense that I really enjoyed it. And we actually lost that game, but I managed to save a penalty. And I think, that was a big moment, just kind of like saving a penalty in front of their fans. And, we ended up losing the game 1-0, but I kind of felt it was a positive game for myself. And it was just such a fantastic experience. And then the home one, I had some very weird experiences playing them at home where the game didn't go ahead, and there was loads of stoppages and stuff like that. But again, running out and having your own fans and having the reverse sound of just cheering them, fans kind of behind you, was just incredible. I think we beat them 2-1 at home in the first time we played them, and that was just amazing because the rain came down. I think it was an English weathered occasion, and that kind of hadn't happened many times, and the rain just poured down. But the fans were incredible, and you could just see what it meant to everybody at the club. So had some really good experiences in the derby.
What was your overall favourite moment
in the derby
in your Panathinaikos career?
Do you know what? My favourite kind of feeling was when we, in our third season, I think it was, it must have been the third season when we qualified for Europe, because I felt like I'd played all the league games the year before. We went through the playoffs, and then we had to qualify for the Europa League that year. So we had to beat Bromby and Stockholm. I think it was in the other way around. I think it was Stockholm, then Bromby. And obviously we won the 2 games against Stockholm, and then played Bromby, who I remember as a kid growing up watching them against Manchester United. And, they're a big club in Denmark, but we beat them at home, and then I think we drew away. So I felt like it wasn't about my performance. It wasn't about me being special, but I felt like I was a real part of that, and I was going to go into this Europa League campaign having earned it properly. And I just remember looking around the dressing room thinking, yeah, we've done this ourselves. We've done it the hard way. We've got through the playoffs. We deserve to be in this Europa League, and that was great. And I feel like that it isn't one particular game as such, but it was kind of a collective thing. I'd done that, and I felt a real part of it. So that's going to be up there.
That's amazing. Want to just shift the direction? Manchester United. Did you get to meet Sir Alex Ferguson? He's obviously for me, the greatest manager of all time. What was that experience like as well?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to Manchester before, had a kind of a trial or a loan period where they wanted to look at me. I was 17, and then I ended up signing. So he was very much part of it. It's hard to describe because now I think the modern day manager and club have lost that personal touch because they have these sporting directors. I know you do abroad a lot more than in England, but in England now we have them as well. So he was even a part of the negotiations on my weekly wage. You know, can you believe that? Like he actually negotiated, or he spoke about the money. He was writing down. He was a big part of that. And obviously, my mum and dad were in there, not just my agent. And little things like that just stick out in my mind. You knew my mum and dad's name after the first time of meeting them. You know, he spoke to me one-on-one a few times, and then obviously I was lucky to see him work when I was on the bench or in the changing room for the first team. And he was just a remarkable person. I think that, you know, people say about learning stuff while I was there off other players. I did, but now where I'm a bit older, I think back and I definitely try and learn from what I remember of him, because he just made a lot of people feel great or perform great. And you know, he could also be the other way. He could be stern and, you know, very strict, but it was always out of respect. And I think, you know, I learned a lot in that short period of time, or those 4 or 5 years. You know, I learned a great deal. So he's just somebody who deserves all the credit for forever. And like you said, the greatest ever manager. I totally agree with that.
Final question. This one has appeared in like your tabloid. You are the only one to have stolen a girl from Cristiano Ronaldo. Is that true?
Yeah, it's not really like that. I said it to some two bob journalists one time, and they ran with it as if it was you know, a story that they could put headlines in it. And it's funny because it still makes headlines every now and again on the internet. You see this as if it's a brand new thing, but I spoke about it once and it got twisted. But yeah, it was just nights out that we had, obviously Christmas dues, and you know, Cristiano and I are the same age. We were young and obviously like chasing girls like you could imagine at the age of 19, 20, whatever it was. And I was just joking with the journalist saying that, you know, when somebody would ask about Cristiano, they weren't too clued up on football, I'd say, yeah, he's just one of the reserve players, and, you know, don't worry about him. But I got nothing but good words to speak about him. And, you know, I hate it when it gets twisted, but that's just the nature of the beast, because he's gone on and be the greatest footballer, you know, like he's won the Ballon d'Or and everything. So yeah, I'm sure those girls regret kicking me instead of him, but so be it.
Final question. Did you see that in Cristiano that he would become as great as he was?
No. It's easy to say yes, you know, but to be honest, like I didn't. It's something that you kind of look back on and say that he was doing extras and stuff like that. But look, at that time at Man Utd, it was one of the greatest squads ever. So he wasn't the only one doing extras, you know, like get it right. When you talk about those players, they all did extras. They all were in the gym. It's easy to say it now because he become Cristiano who we know. But, you know, that was the culture back then. Everybody was practicing after the sessions, doing gym sessions, doing more. I have no doubt that he carried that on, and, you know, he put loads of effort in on and off the pitch, and he was probably more talented than most people. And, you know, that's down to his hard work, but I didn't see it. Same with someone like PK. You know, we're playing a lot of reserve games with PK, and I never saw him being like a World Cup winner, but he did. And it just goes to show you can't predict things like that, because, you know, myself or different footballing people have got it majorly wrong. It's still very young to predict where somebody's gonna end up. So yeah, it's very interesting when you look back, but he was just a great professional.
Thank you very much. Happy to wrap it up. I know you've got a busy schedule. Very happy and very proud that you've joined us. Wish you all the best with your managerial. I know you still follow the boys. I know you've asked what time the game is and where's it showing. So we hope to continue that. You support the team, and yeah, keep in touch in socials.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Good to meet you.